Hello and welcome again to another video by Econo Insight. This video is part of the playlist of measuring inflation, and this video specifically will cover the concept of nominal and real GDP and including the GDP deflator. The main idea here that I want to point out is that prices bloat the economy. What do I mean by this? We'll explore this throughout the video. So first, when measuring the performance of an economy, the size of an economy, we measure the GDP, the gross domestic product. If you don't know what this is, there's a video in the channel regarding GDP. Watch that first. So, as we have known, GDP is the performance of the economy, the size of the economy. So, how do we measure that? First, there are two types of GDP. I'm going to go one by one. First, there is called nominal GDP. Nominal GDP is defined as the value of goods and services measured at current prices. The key word here is current, right? Current prices. So let's say there is a hypothetical economy consisting of two goods. Let's say good A, it could be anything, and good B. If I want to calculate the nominal GDP, then I would simply, let's say, the nominal GDP of this economy at a certain year, let's say it's 2023 in this example, we simply put the price of good A in 2023 multiplied by the quantity of good A in 2023 plus the price of B in 2023 multiplied by the quantity of B in 2023. We plug that up together and we get the nominal GDP in 2023. But now, after we know it, let's ask, is this a reliable method? Is nominal GDP a reliable method to measure economic performance? Well, the answer is no. It may be misleading. Why? Because misleading is that because if, let's say, we are comparing the nominal GDP of 1 year, let's say 2022, let's follow this example, and 2023. If only prices in the economy change, let's say in 2022 the prices were cheaper, and in 2023 the prices, let's say, went up. If only prices in the economy change due to inflation probably, and the quantity sold is the same, well, the economic well-being of individuals remain the same. So prices bloat the economy. Ponder upon that idea, pause the video, ponder upon it first. Because if you think it logically, quantity is what determines economic well-being. It's not the price, but it's what you can get. The more you get, then the more you are better off. So quantity determines economic well-being. That's the logic behind it. So what is a better alternative to nominal GDP? It's what we call real GDP. Real GDP is the value of goods and services. I'm just going to copy the definition here so it's faster. The value of goods and services measured not in current prices, but with a constant set of prices. So I'm just going to write it down here. Constant set of, what do I mean by constant set of prices? Is that we use a price from a certain year. So we use a price from a certain year, and that year is called the base year. So we make that price constant, right? So if we were to calculate real GDP, let's say in 2023, with that hypothetical economy of good A and good B, and let's say our base year is 2021. So we don't want to see the change in prices. We just want to we want to see the change in quantity, so we could see if the quantity is growing or not. So we don't want to see the GDP bloated by prices, but just by quantity. So if we choose the prices in 2021, then we simply, just plug it all in. Then prices in 2021 multiplied by the quantity quantity in 2023 plus the price of B in 2021 multiplied by the quantity of B in 2023. So a constant set of prices lets us omit omit the change in prices due to inflation. So we could really see the growth in economic well-being from the side of quantity objectively. There's no illusion here. It's just we're directly seeing the quantity. So again, quantity of goods sold actually determines economic well-being, and inflation distorts it. So how do we measure inflation here? We know what real GDP is, we know what nominal GDP is, and there's a component that is often useful to measure inflation. It's called the GDP deflator. GDP deflator informs what the prices as a whole in the economy is like. So what is the rate of inflation? This is used, GDP deflator. So how do we calculate it? GDP deflator is simply the nominal GDP divided by the real GDP. So the ratio of this, then we get the GDP. We get the GDP deflator. GDP deflator is a very important tool to measure inflation. But what is the weakness of using GDP deflator in measuring inflation is that GDP deflator often understates inflation. Why? Because it does not consider what we call a substitution effect. So this substitution effect, maybe we will not understand it comprehensively now, and that's okay, because I will continue this in the video about the consumer price index. But the thing is that the GDP deflator does not consider the substitution effect, because even though, let's say, prices go up, right? Prices go up, and people then start to substitute what they normally consume to something cheaper, because the price what they initially consume are high, so they substitute that for something cheaper. The GDP deflator would record that, but the GDP deflator did not realize that if you substitute something for a good of lower quality, then the consumer is getting lower quality, right? And when the consumer is getting lower quality, then it lowers their living standards. And that is why GDP deflator is said to understate inflation. If you don't understand this concept of substitution effect, it's totally fine, because I'll continue this in the next video about the consumer price index.